Oh my gosh, we survived to episode 7. And my name is Rich. This is Quasar with Fries. And with me today, we have the other host.
Hey, it's Wayne, guys. How you doing?
And we have a magical guest. And his name is...
John, the unicorn.
This is so bad.
Was that the most campy, awkward intro ever?
We acknowledged how bad we are at just saying, hey, it's us every episode. I really think we're just gonna let people figure it out from now on because it's and now we've added a third person that we have to get in, oh, now you say your name, please.
Next time let's leave a little bit more space too before we answer next time, so it's even more awkward.
These are good notes. This is John Hogue. He's our boss. We were like, who could we have on?
Let's have our manager. Yes. Mm-hmm. John also works at OWC. Yeah. He's
just checking it, right. Yeah, this was not planned. John was just like, I'm joining the podcast today to make sure you guys are not completely wasting our time.
This is part of your review for later. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I'll be taking notes.
He's here to determine if we're
meeting.
Yeah.
He's here to determine if we're, if we're guilty of time theft, which, I mean, there's a strong case.
Don't implicate yourself.
I mean, honestly, one of the most important conversations that we had right before we started recording today was just the level of intensity that Wayne's new mustache is bringing to the table.
Yeah. That's what, I felt like Rich has just been running roughshod over this whole operation, and I was like, how do I,
assert your dominance?
Assert my dominance, and I was like, I know
this is not a live show, but I expect that if this was a live show, that the lights would go down in the theater, and then you'd hear the microphones go live and be like test and like a little scratch and stuff, and then like in this theater of 1,000 people, live show, lights are down, you'd hear zzz, 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 yes. And then Wayne would come out with a mustache, which is the way I like to think about how this happened.
Now, that audio alone generates all kinds of interesting visuals, so we'll that might freak the audience out. And honestly, if 1,000 people showed up to watch us talk, I would start to question humanity a little bit.
How big is this show? I thought it was up to 1,000 already. That's why I was. That's why I was.
This is actually being streamed live in NASDAQ at the NASDAQ billboard in Times Square right now. Yeah,
100%. Yes. The financial district and the folks in Times Square are really...
It's riveting.
They really want to know what we're talking about. They love it when we talk about NVIDIA earnings.
Who doesn't? I mean, everybody's excited about all the money they missed out on because they weren't paying attention to crypto.
They're like, NVIDIA's worth what?
Yeah. Hey, man.
You guys heard about Bitcoin?
What is this new thing you talk about?
Yeah, it's cool. It's not actually a coin.
Yeah. Is that like AI?
It's similar. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like distant cousins, sort of.
You might not get it. So.
Okay. Well, I don't really care about anything that's not AI. So, if you tell me it's an AI currency, then I'm interested.
Rebrand.
Okay.
That might
be. Moving on to the first topic.
All right, here we go. So enough BS, which is 90% of what comes out of our mouths. So the first topic is, we've talked in previous episodes about AR glasses, VR glasses, all the glasses, right? And some of those experiences are, you either have like the fully immersive version of that experience, like the Oculus or the the Vision Pro, and then you also, the Vision Pro is kind of a mix of both because you can see through them, kind of behind them and stuff. But then also Meta Orion, which is the most insane overpriced product I've ever seen in my life. And then you have like the Wayfarer, the Meta.
Can it be overpriced if it's not for sale?
I guess maybe. Well, they
thought
about,
that, so that's why they're not selling it, because they're like, it's going to be like $10,000 to make one pair. So
it's not ready yet. But that's that would be overpriced if they did bring it to market at that price, I think.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Oh,
I don't know. Is it overpriced? Because that's what it makes to. They would basically, if they sold it for $10,001, they would be basically selling it at cost. So, I mean, overpriced, I don't know, but useful, I don't know. I mean, like, it looks pretty cool. It makes for a cool demo. I mean, like, and I think that, like, it's I think the nicest thing you can say is that we're a lot further along in having, like, augmented reality glasses than we thought we were 3 weeks ago, I guess.
Sure.
Is like, because, like, the demo is apparently very impressive, but, like, it's also spawned conversation around whether or not, like, oh, see, Apple was just, they went the wrong way. Apple went for, like, a VR headset that can also be dialed back to be augmented reality. And really what they should have been doing is, nobody wants to be fully immersed. We want to be, you know, in the world, but also able to, like, augment our surroundings. We want to be Tony Stark, right? Moving the screens around and all of that good stuff.
I don't know, dude. Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Tony Stark was late to the game, though, because Tom Cruise was doing that in Minority Report. So, I mean,
that's true. Yeah, but Tom Cruise didn't look nearly as cool.
That's true. He had the same weird giggle, though.
Like Iron Man's, like, grabbing stuff and, like, balling it up and then, like, shooting hoops with, like, this, like, little trash can. Like, that's what we want, I think. But I'm still not, in all of those Hollywood depictions, because, I mean, let's be clear, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about Hollywood depictions of this technology. Yeah. And, like, that's kind of, like, I think shaped our understanding of it. Even then, like, when I was watching that movie, I was just like, this looks like a terrible interface for doing actual computing, let alone design work. It's see-through. Like, you're getting, like, whatever's behind it through the thing you're trying. He's, like, designing a suit. And I know, like, in A Beautiful Mind, he loves to, like, write on we're moving to A Beautiful Mind. He loves to, like, write on, like, windows, and so I get that, like, like, there's, like, another depiction of math done on, like, you know, and then I guess in some colleges, people are just, like, writing on clear whiteboards. I don't get it. I've never really understood that. I don't understand why that's the depiction of technology, but, like, I don't want my screens to be clear or see-through.
Right.
I think the real world, it's like, it sort of comes from, like, fighter plane technology and those heads-up displays that are popping up in some newer cars as well. So maybe that's part of it. And but, you know, where you want to see, if you're flying in a plane at Mach 2, you want to be able to see what's out the window, but also need to see what the oil pressure is. I don't fly planes, so those words might not be right.
That's clear. That's clear. That much is clear.
Yeah.
And you might also want to see the latest tweets about, you know, the new iPhone that came out while you're flying the plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, these are just, you know, these are things that pop, you know, they come up and you're kind of like, that needs to be addressed, you know, in an F-16.
Yeah. Response to my followers at the moment. You could argue the Vision Pro is a discount now, though, now that we've seen the Meta Orion cost, right? $10,000, the $3,500 Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Like,
and a lot more hardware, right? Like, there's a lot more. There's, like, Apple went metal construction, like they always do. Metal construction and, like, 100 cameras. It's literally like 6 or 8 cameras to do the pass-through experience. But, like, I think that there is still something to be said. We don't really know if the Meta Orion is going to win. Let's just say not it, but, like, that form of AR computing is going to win. That's going to be the thing that Zuckerberg is basically betting that in 10 years we'll still be using phones, but they'll have their place, but we're primarily going to be, like, you know, looking at that same data in a set of glasses. I think that there's some really good arguments against that. It's because, like, is everybody going to want to wear glasses? Because it's so, take the phone out of your pocket, you look at the phone, you put the phone back in your pocket. And, like, It's over and done with all in one kind of like hand motion. Now, people do love their phones, so you could argue like, oh, well, wouldn't you just want to have a phone on your face? Like, you don't have to take the phone out of your pocket. Okay, but you're still going to have to convince like, billions of people that don't wear or need glasses that they should put glasses on. So that's one thing that I think is kind of interesting here.
I don't think they assume that many people are going to be customers, to be honest. Like,
right.
That's never going to be the case with technology. Technology and something taking off with the public is always going to be niche. Some of the niches are large, some of them are small, but the idea that one day they're expecting that everybody and their grandma is going to be walking around wearing these glasses, kind of with a similar vibe to those old movie theater photos where they all have 3D glasses on at the same time and they're all looking up. That's never going to happen. I don't think they're expecting that either, but
I don't know. So like in The Verge interviewed Zuckerberg. And so his contextualization of this, and it was kind of like, wow, Zuck, you guys did it. It's so good. Oh, like this demo was so good. We're so close. We're so close. Thank you, Zuck. And his so that was the context of the interview to me. I thought it was a little like, and then especially like later in the interview, like they just completely let him go with like basically saying, yeah, Cambridge Analytica, that stuff was completely overblown.
Right.
Was it? Okay. So again, a very kind of like, I thought, kind interview. But that kind of gets like, that lead is buried because he's so good in the interview. Like Zuck is definitely, if you think about when did Apple hit, when are we looking at like these great Steve Jobs like keynotes and everything like that? In the 90s, 20 some years after the company was established. Well, Facebook was established in the early 2000s. We're 20 some years. So like, is Zuck coming into his like Steve Jobs kind of like the guy knows what he's doing era?
That's a headline right there. I love that headline.
Zuck is, and everyone's head's kind of spinning, right? Like, Zuck was like getting made fun of for putting too much sunscreen on and talking like a robot literally 2 years ago, and now he's like an MMA guy. Like he's like doing great interviews and wears the chain. He looks great. He looks healthy. So I mean, like,
we actually talked. We addressed his the evolution of his hair. The last
he looks good. He looks healthy. Like, I'm happy for him. But like the context of the interview and kind of like the softball nature, I thought, of the interview kind of gets underdone because he's so good in it.
Right.
But his context of this whole thing is, so Facebook was founded on the web, right? And then 3 years later, the iPhone happened. And now mobile computing was like we didn't design Facebook for the phone. We kind of had to adapt. So we missed that computing paradigm. And so his kind of directive ever since then for the company has been, we will not miss the next computing platform. So his take on this is that we are going to own the next and define what the next computing platform is, and that's glasses with screens in them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I think that it's his belief that augmented reality, and maybe it's not the glasses or what is going to be the next iPhone. That's what he's betting heavily on.
Facebook, I'll let John speak to this story here, but Facebook might be part of the next wave of crime too with the with these the Ray-Bans. John, what was the story regarding the 2 Harvard students?
Yeah, so 2 Harvard students took the original Meta Ray-Bans and wrote some software, some very clever software where it could facially recognize someone, which Meta has said is not what these do by default. But they wrote software to sort of find these people, scour the internet, find more information about them, and then I can walk up to you, Rich, or you, Wayne, on the subway platform in New York and be like, hey, are you the guy from that show? And I don't know anything about you, but I can start to get some information just from facial recognition and scouring the internet. So it's like, they're not going to sell this software, the students. Maybe they are after a job at Facebook, at Meta. But this is sort of like the cautionary tale of what this technology does enable. And then you had a really interesting point, though, before we started recording about the good side of it, where, how could this benefit folks at a networking event where you can get some more backstory on them? And
Yeah.
That's in a movie. That's in several movies, right? Where it's like they're using some. I don't know if it's a Bond, or I'm sure there's been versions of this in several different types of movies. But like,
Where they're getting
if you
fed.
think about it, if you think about it, the glasses do this. They don't dox people. That's not a default feature. But if you have the Meta Ray-Bans, you can say, "Hey Meta, tell me what I'm looking at." And it will take a picture, and then it uploads it to like Meta AI, and then it's like, oh, those are strawberries.
Yeah, that stuff's cool.
You idiot.
I would love to have.
You paid $300 for this. So I mean, like, ultimately, what they did is that they used the camera input on the glasses to perform like an image search.
Yeah,
a backwards image search. So it's not technologically impressive. It's kind of what we were talking about last time with. Everybody has been able to make Photoshops and deepfakes for a while if you have the skill set for Photoshop. But what this does is it makes that capability more accessible and instant. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah. And then the point becomes like, why are none of these companies like asking these questions before they just like have like an unfiltered take on the technology?
I don't know. I think this could be the conspiracy theorist in me, but like they're not going to outwardly and publicly question stuff like that because they want to test it behind the scenes without anybody knowing first to see if it even works that way. And if there's a way for them to ride that line legally of being able to exploit that for their own business needs, why would you talk about it publicly if you can just have stuff? Because it's like with our phones, right? Like I'll talk to my wife about, I love getting older and, I got a crazy amount of nose hair. And all of a sudden, like every browser search and every webpage I'm on, I have retargeted ads about nose hair trimmers. I'm like, I didn't even type this into search anywhere. So that's the kind of thing that I envision where like if you look at metrics on Facebook, right? So stuff that we can visibly see, people engage, they like, they comment, they share, stuff like that. But the things you can't see that Facebook does have the data on is that person keeps clicking onto these other people's profiles and stalking this specific person and clicking and looking and visiting, but we don't see that information. But that's what I'm talking about is like the behind the scenes, kind of like the like 2-3 degrees deep level meta information about what's going on. They're not going to outwardly tell you, just like the government's not going to come out and tell you.
To your point, that means it could be more powerful. I mean, it's way more. So, like, that's a really good point. So, like, Meta's moneymaker essentially is the social grid. Like, it's those connections and the degrees of the degrees of connection. That's literally what they make their money on. So, to your point, it's kind of like if they decided, like, maybe we could sell some kind of like identity revealer to the government.
Yes.
And we're not going to make this available to the public, but like you could, and like we're going to use our like unmatched social grid that has like photos of how much of the population that has been voluntarily uploaded and shows you kind of like the evolution of that person's appearance over time, their likes and dislikes, their entire like background and history. Yeah. So like it's especially troubling that this company is pushing that,
making technology that can do that. And I think you guys have mentioned, I think Scott Galloway on this show, but he brought up a point once. It's that or a number of times that corporations, their number one job is to make money, and that's all they're good at, and they're excellent at it, right? So this is the motivation for them, is to make the best product that sells the most and generates the most income. So it's really. It's not, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it's not incumbent on them to protect necessarily. And if they can find a way to, sell it, they will. And this is, it's just cautionary tales, I think, in general, about,
and
look behind the scenes a bit.
I have a pair of the Meta Ray-Bans and I love them. Like they're actually, they've done a really good job, like with the cameras. Like the cameras take really good pictures. I don't like, they're great for vacations. They're great for like if you're, they're great sunglasses just because they can play music and stuff like that. Like they connect right to Spotify, Apple Music. So like there's a reason that these have kind of connected, I think, with people. Like Zuckerberg in that same interview kind of mentioned that they've sold better than they could have imagined. And I'm like, I don't know, like this was a good enough product that it actually made me want to buy a Facebook hardware product. So that's one thing. And I think that's just another kind of like sign that this company has kind of turned a corner. The success of Threads is one. And then obviously this AR kind of division, the Meta AR division is kind of another. And so I love it because it's giving Apple and Google another competitor, but at the same time, it's really, really hard to shake this company's past in terms of the privacy troubles, just flouting of any like semblance of actual privacy that they've done in the past. But
the funny thing about that too is like, and since I've been doing Facebook for business stuff since 2007, and it always made me laugh when people would on Facebook constantly complain. They're complaining on Facebook about Facebook's privacy issues. But when you look at their feed, they're literally handing over a digital replication of their own existence by posting stuff every day. Oh, Facebook now knows that during Christmas every year, I get upset about this certain thing and I talk about it and I post photos about it. So they're building database versions of all of us. And the people complaining about privacy issues are the ones sharing the most about their lives on Facebook. You know what I mean? So those kinds of things always drove me
nuts. You have
to
imagine that to have the reach that would be required to actually like make it worth your while.
Yeah.
To talk about stuff a lot on Facebook or Threads or wherever. I mean, you have to be deep into the grid.
Yeah, 100%. So like my advice to my kids was always like, if you're going to be on social media, don't ever post anything that you like wouldn't want your grandma to know about you. So that you keep it pretty high level, pretty inoffensive. Like, if you want to be more crass, we have friendship circles that we can go sit somewhere and sit at a bar and have a beer and talk shit about life or whatever. But when it comes to being too offensive, pushing the envelope, yes, there's a lot of that going on out there, but generally speaking, I try to avoid anything that's past PG-13 because, and also like my personal like behavioral patterns, I don't want these websites
they change
collecting my patterns every year, every month, every day, every week, like,
I mean, Rich, even in the time since I've known you, you've evolved. You've grown.
You've changed.
And I'm proud of you, buddy.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate that.
That's why I'm here.
You're so supportive and stuff.
I do my best stuff.
Oh my gosh. All right. So we've beat that one up a little bit. Let's move on to other things like the imminent breaking up of Google, which has already been fractured by the accusations about being a monopoly. Wayne, you already pointed out, being a monopoly is not illegal. Like if you have a successful product or service and it beats everybody else, and so people just go to that, why is that your problem?
Right.
That's, you won basically. But the monopoly thing is more like, what are you doing to make sure shut down competition from competing with you behind the scenes, right? So as far as like what I understand. So as far as the breakup is concerned, like what are the things that you've learned so far and like how they're going to go about that from a legal standpoint?
I mean, so they've come out in recent weeks. I mean, like there was an article in Verge just a few days ago where departments. So and again, there's two kind of things to kind of keep track of right now, and one just kind of has an impact on the likelihood of the other. So obviously, the Department of Justice sued Google and alleged everyone knows you're a monopoly, and that's fine, but you have acted in an anti-competitive way to basically reinforce that monopoly. Like you're making exclusive deals with Apple for $20 billion a year to be the default search on iPhone. Like that's anti-competitive. It's one of the strongest kind of like pieces of evidence against them. So like they're acting anti-competitively. Then there's the other one where Epic, I can't remember when this was, last year or the year before, they sued both Apple and Google because they wanted to be able to have their own app store within, or be able to, distribute their Epic Games app store that would, obviously sell Fortnite on Apple and Google platforms, so the iPhone, iPad, Mac, and then the Android platform.
How would that work? You download like a centralized app, and then inside there you're doing in-app purchases of games.
So you basically download an app, and it acts like an app store, like the built-in Play Store on Android and apps. Now, you've been able to sideload alternative app stores on Android for years, and so like you can do that, but Epic's like, no, we want an official. You download this app store within the Play Store so that people don't have to learn how to sideload, and people don't have to worry. I'm like, did I get the right download? Am I putting the right thing on my phone? It needs to be an official thing. And then they're also looking to bypass the up to 30%, tax that Apple and Google kind of take whenever someone buys something through Fortnite or through another game. So they're arguing that that's anti-competitive. I think that is like, look, Apple built and Google built a platform that they're selling software through. It's their platform. Yeah, they built it.
They get to decide how it works. Yeah,
they get to decide if you pay the 30%. So that doesn't, for me personally, that's not. But the recently Google lost. So Apple won its case, but Google has lost its case against Epic. So now Google is going to be forced to allow third-party app stores to be downloaded from the Play Store. And there's a bunch of other little tangential things where if there's an app available in another third-party Play Store and it's not a third-party store and it's not available in the official Play Store, that there has to be some kind of like mention in the Play Store of like, hey, if you want this, you got to download this and then you can get it. So they're really kind of like getting in the middle of that kind of. That's not happening on the Apple side, but it is happening in the EU. So the EU has made Apple. So clearly, like, there's like this impact. It's not really the point for the Google breakup thing, but there's already kind of like a strike has kind of landed against Google and really in the EU against Apple, because now they're having to allow these third-party app stores. Well, the DOJ, that kind of like puts wind in the DOJ sails in terms of kind of like, we've already determined you're a monopoly. We've already determined that you're acting illegally. So now the remedies, or kind of like the ways that the Department of Justice can break Google up, are kind of on the table. And they're now kind of communicating that like, yeah, we're feeling pretty good about not only ruling against Google, but now making them give up a piece of their business to level the playing field.
So why would Google lose and Apple win? They just can't afford the best lawyers.
Well, different cases, different trials.
I see.
Right.
Okay. Maybe different
and different judges. So like this judge ruled that Apple's. That ruling was not like a clear-cut win for Apple against Epic Games. Like there were some things that the judge found in favor of Epic for, but ultimately it's not going to like impact Apple's sales. And then obviously the EU thing is completely separate. That's only in Europe. Right. So it's kind of like their version of the DOJ is making Apple play by different rules in Europe than it plays by here.
Yeah.
On the Google side of things, though, yeah, it was just a different trial, well, not different lawyers probably, but different judges, and so just different opinions, and that's
it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I have a few friends that work at Google in the different, some in Google Cloud, some just under Google, some in the other services, and from what I hear, it's definitely been a little bit chaotic.
And like the other difference too between like the Epic thing to kind of keep in mind is like the Epic thing is just precedent, right? So like it's just bad for Google because Google had these two things going on at the same time. One dealing with its app store and then one dealing with its search monopoly. So the Epic thing doesn't really impact the search ruling, but it's just kind of like that's not good because like this thing happened. And now there's more precedent for the DOJ to kind of go like, okay, we feel better about pushing forward because look how badly they're behaving here and here. Right. So we need to crack down. And like the DOJ's case, the monopoly case is, John was kind of discussing this earlier, but like it's about search and the search monopoly. Yeah. How you break that up, the things on the table are like making them like spin off Android or spin off Chrome. But like I just Chrome and Android are not the reasons that they have a monopoly in search.
That just seems like a more like flagrant way to just like go in and just, it's like the bully on the schoolyard who's just going to jump into the sandbox and ruin everybody's sandcastles. Like,
right.
I don't have much to gain from this, but I'm just going to come in here and do this, and mess everything up.
I mean, now look, Chrome and Android were clearly platforms built to bolster the search business. That's their business.
Right.
Google exists to sell ads. And so Android and Chrome exist as more windows to sell ads within. But if you back out and look at the business, those are not the things that are reinforcing the monopoly. What's reinforcing the monopoly are the exclusive deals. What's reinforcing the monopoly are the way, and I think that the one remedy that the Verge kind of brought up that the DOJ is considering that makes the most sense is making Google literally share its ad data and its user data with other companies. That, to me, that's the only way that you can actually kind of like curb the impact and like take a competitive advantage away from Google.
Right.
But Rich, you mentioned earlier that, I mean, there's an aspect of this that's just like Google is also part of their monopoly is because it's the best search engine.
Right. You can't argue with that. And if somebody does well, as usual, and I totally sound like I'm some weird, militia guy right now, but if you do well, the government's going to come after you. Sanctioned entities that represent the government, they're going to come after you, and they're like, "Oh, you're doing well. You must be doing something terrible to people," And it's like, not always.
I wonder what is the benefit to because what the government's meant to do is protect the American people, right? In this case,
the consumer.
And it's like, what is the benefit of breaking up Google at this point? And like, who wins in this if it does go through? Is it the American people, or does it just open the door for Apple to?
We clearly need more competition in search. We do. I think the problem here, the puzzle that the government's trying to put together, is that we were just talking about Meta and Facebook and their privacy issues. Yeah. Google is not far behind on the privacy trouble meter, if we're being honest, right? So you've got two companies who are basically hoarding data on billions of users around the world
every day
to kind of do their thing.
Yep.
I mean, and honestly, to that point, I mean, like, is Facebook monopolizing social media? I mean, think of it, they own Instagram, they own Facebook, they own Threads, which will probably overtake Twitter. So like, they're going to own the majority of the conversation and user data of people who are freely posting around the world. Why aren't we looking at that?
Before TikTok, you could say that Google monopolized online video.
Oh, for sure. Well, and they
Still do.
They certainly did before. Did before. Yeah,
it's just different now. But
we don't know how much TikTok has cut into that, and they've clearly had an impact, because when it comes to video, though, that seems a little bit more spread out. But when you see about who owns all, like, the majority of the major players, like, that's definitely Meta. But and then if you look at who owns the majority of productivity tools, Google Search, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Gmail. I mean, like, that's a huge. So I mean, you've got two monopolies here, and clearly Facebook is not a great social media platform. Instagram is probably the best, but it's still kind of crappy in terms of all the ads it gets. Wouldn't we all love to see a competitor to Instagram, like a real one? Wouldn't we all love to see a real competitor to Google Search that held our attention?
You made me think of it right there as you said it, Wayne. But it's like another tech giant who owns a majority of OpenAI. Like, they're rubbing their hands together for what ChatGPT could become if there was more doors open in, because that I feel like is overtaking a lot of search queries now, at least for historical information.
Like Microsoft.
And
I think that's definitely the play that Microsoft is having, for sure. Yeah. I think that Satya Nadella has made it very clear that, like, Zuckerberg is talking about glasses being the computing paradigm. And I think Zuckerberg is more focused on the hardware. Mm-hmm. How are we going to get the AI? I think Zuckerberg has been like, yeah, AI is going to be super important. We've got it in our glasses already. So I think Zuckerberg's focused on the delivery platform from a hardware perspective, whereas Microsoft is like, we can't do Bing again.
Yeah.
Right. And it's got to be OpenAI and ChatGPT is the way of the future. And it raises the question of like, you go from one monopoly of Google to another monopoly of Apple, to another monopoly of Microsoft and another one of Meta. And it's like, there's a reason these 7 companies are the biggest in the world, and they control everything. So we have 7 monopolies that create the world right now.
We're basically taking turns on being who's the coolest monopoly right now, bro.
Well, and to wrap things up, I think all 3 of us agree, because we were talking about this beforehand. It's just kind of like, I remain highly skeptical that the government is actually going to bite Google hard and actually like do anything that will be effective in breaking up their monopoly. The most impactful thing they could do is really get in the middle of their ad business and like make them sell off pieces of it, or at least share their user data with other companies so that they could actually build something that is revenue sustainable.
Right. Well, all right. Hey, we've been going for a while on this guy. Let's move on to some other stuff. So there's some hot topics here when it comes to entertainment, the entertainment industry, related to film. This is a touchy subject this is a touchy subject for Gen Xers and older, probably not younger than us. I'm Gen X right here, represent. Where are you guys at on the spectrum of generational stuff in terms of age?
Spectrum. It is a spectrum.
It is.
I'm an elder millennial, I think, is what I fall into, which I just like to add elder to it. Yeah, because
I'm like a sweet spot millennial. Like when you see the memes, they're typically accurate about me.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to like. I'm not an elder millennial, and I'm not like a 1999 millennial.
It's funny, like in the Facebook groups I'm part of a couple of Facebook groups for Gen Xers, and we're constantly referring to ourselves as sort of like the forgotten generation, in the sense that it's always the headlines are always about boomers going at it with millennials. Like you never hear the Gen Xers are like, whoa, we're here. But the thing
that's like perfect. That's perfect for you guys, though. That's like kind of on target, on brand.
We were most of the Gen Xers. We were a bunch of like latchkey kids. This is when like our childhoods are when divorces became much more of a common thing. Right. Because now the pressure to stay together because of religious reasons or whatever, that was starting to lift out of American society. So like, let's get 18 divorces, remarry 25 times. That started to happen more in like the Gen Xer.
Yeah. Well, you're also the generation of it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
Yeah, totally.
That was just like on TVs across the country.
And the answer was sometimes
your generation.
No, not really. Yeah, sometimes no. I don't think he's down the block, but can't be sure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Right. Do you know if he's sleeping or?
And I remember, dude, there were times I remember being in 4th grade, so I was 9 years old, and my parents told me that I had to ride my bike to school, and I was in Southern California in Orange County. And I remember, so there's a street in Costa Mesa called Harbor Boulevard that is hectic. It's one of the busiest streets that runs across like multiple towns. And I was riding my bike like 4 or 5 miles across Harbor Boulevard during commute traffic over to this other hillside, through this dark alley into this like, and I'm like, nowadays there's no way in hell I would let any of my
just
kids
to contrast your situation with mine. My dad got to work late and took off work early to pick me up and take me to school.
Yeah. How far away were you from school though?
It was probably 3 or 4 miles.
Yeah. It was insane. Like back in the Gen Xer childhoods in the 80s and stuff, it's just like yeah, oh, you got to get to school. Here's a skateboard or a unicycle or whatever.
Here's a skateboard. The skateboard is amazing.
Figure it out.
I remember growing up and seeing like, and still, so I was born in '86, and so like by the time I was old enough to remember movies, there were still depictions of like kids riding skateboards to school, and I was just like, wow, what?
Yeah. Back to the Future, like Marty McFly, right?
Yeah. Right. How is this possible? Like, what? Like, A, he's really good at skateboarding, but like, B, like the school has to be really close, right?
Yeah, no.
Apparently not.
Nope.
Those little wheels. It's not an efficient mode of transport.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The parents back then were like, "Oh, it has wheels. You can take that to school. Whatever."
Right.
Yeah. Totally. All right.
You're really. I believe in you.
Back to the actual topic I was going to hit on. So, there's been a lot of discussions. This has actually been going on for years, right? So, the movie theater situation. Are movie theaters and that whole thing doomed as a business, as an industry, as just a part of like our society in terms of entertainment and the things that we go out and enjoy on the weekends or whatever? There was the pandemic. It was already winding down, and then the pandemic hit and everybody really stayed home, and then they really invested in their home audio, home theater situation, and then they just kind of stayed home. And one of the things that I read was, when it comes to technology, it's like you can build it and they'll come, has turned more into like build it and they'll stay home.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
well, they're not updating the theaters. Okay, so like if you live in like a nice metropolitan-y area, and for California, that's a very big area. So like
we have a few of those. Yeah.
For here in the South, like if you're in a metropolitan area, you're within 45 minutes of the city, not an hour, or like here's a suburban area that's really nice and affluent, and so like there's just lots less opportunities for like, so movie theaters now, like you have to go to like our nearest IMAX where I live is like 90 minutes away. So like we have like we have 2 AMC theaters. They're both terrible. We can't watch IMAX movies there. The sound systems probably need updating. The 14-year-olds that are working there are barely paying attention to the projection and like if
or
it's
anything
good,
else.
or if it's not good.
Exactly.
And I would imagine that is like 90% of America's movie-going experience. Like $50 for popcorn and 3 drinks, and then $30 or $40 for the tickets themselves, and then you get in there and like there are literally unsupervised kids just walking around, like walking around in circles inside the theater while the movie's playing.
Dude.
Yeah, it's bad. And then or you go and you see the new Marvel movie and you're dumb enough to do it on opening night, and you get one nerd to the right explaining everything to the girl he dragged there that doesn't care about what's going on, or people laughing at everything Robert Downey Jr. says.
Right. Or you have the parents who just needed to get out of the house, but they also have their kids, and so they just take them there to dump them into a Marvel movie while they go sit at the bar that now exists in a movie theater.
What is this theater where you have a bar? Like what are you talking about?
You don't have that, Wayne?
We have
that. Yeah.
See,
we got
again, you guys were like like nodding your heads whenever I was talking about how bad it is out here, and like you don't know. There's no bar.
We don't know.
There's no bar.
I will say, so
shelter.
I have an interesting thing that I haven't taken advantage of, and I have a toddler, 2-year-old, and he is not welcome in the movie theater in my eyes, at least. Some people may bring their toddler to the movie theater.
God bless you. God bless
you, John.
We don't need car seats. In the theater.
No, crunchy Cheerio. Like there's enough stuff on the floor. He's not good at eating yet, so we'll keep him out for a second. But they Alamo Drafthouse has a Tuesday morning 8 a.m. screening that's family friendly, and they leave the lights up a bit, the volume's a little bit lower, and you can bring in, and a crying baby is expected because it is all families. And I think the movie theaters and the movie industry, quite frankly, needs to rethink its approach, because if you have more opportunities like that, the movie theater is not dead, where I can go with my family, and there's got to be new opportunities. It's not the same old thing where there's one thing to do on Friday night and it's to go catch the new movie. It's like there's so many more distractions. So I think movies, the people making the movies and the theaters displaying them need to, rethink how they do it. Alamo Drafthouse is a perfect example where there is a bar and an arcade in the front, and it kind of does give you a full destination where you can spend 6
That's
hours.
fantastic.
And move around,
Yeah,
so,
dude. Like, and that's what deserves to be successful. And instead, you've got, so you were talking about earlier, the corporate responsibility, the responsibility of any corporation, and specifically the managers of that corporation, is to deliver returns to shareholders. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
AMC was on the brink of extinction before it became a meme stock.
Thank God to Nicole Kidman, right?
Right. Yeah. And so like and just embraced its memeability to the nth degree. And so like they can continue to get by. They're literally attracting investors cuz it's funny. Like, I invested in AMC and I'm holding. Like, okay, cool.
Moon,
I'm just going to keep buying AMC. And then meanwhile, what does AMC do? Dude, they divest. Like, they say thank you for the money. They don't like pay like dividends. They like just take the money. Like they
don't make the brand new wonderful theaters. They make a fun
and they don't invest
commercial.
it. No, it's like it's literally they're investing because it's funny and because the other idiots on the internet are also investing. There is no reason to invest in AMC until they like do better as a company. So they have no incentive. Right now they're just being bankrolled as a meme stock and continuing to, like you said, not make improvements, not make the theater experience any better. So like why would they? And then meanwhile, like the ones that deserve to kind of disrupt, it's in bad need of disruption, and there's already some players but like an Alamo has expanded, like they're kind of putting more theaters in more places, but that's what we need. So like to your point, the theaters need to do better, but the other issue, and look, I don't even have a problem with the ticket prices, right? But it's just like earn the ticket price. Like this needs to be, if I'm not at home where I have a 7.1 surround sound and a 90-inch TV that's Dolby Vision 4K, and you're like, well, this screen has a hole in the bottom right corner, and it might be 1080p. And as for the sound, it just depends on like whoever came into work that day. That's not good.
It's like they haven't mopped the floor in free showings. Yeah, exactly.
Because the only movies, and this goes to your other point about the studios, because it's ultimately their fault too. There's a great clip from Hot Ones where Matt Damon kind of explains how the economics of the movie industry has changed over the last several years. It's just they don't green light risky movies anymore. Like I saw you. I think it was you and McGregor.
Yeah, the comic book stuff is like the safe bet movies. Like
yes, 100%. Like the fact that the Fall Guy got made is to me a minor miracle. And like, look, was it a great movie? No, but like, we need more of that. Like, we need more of kind of like, here's an original idea with like people you know and actors you love, and like it's just going to be a fun story. It's a great date movie, stuff like that. Like the fact that it wasn't as good as it could have been is kind of beyond though. I just love that that got made and that got greenlit for release in cinema. But they're putting movies out, and I think that they're only putting movies out that they think they can market into like an event.
It's lowest common denominator audience.
Yeah.
It's like Nickelback fans. You know what I mean? It's like they're not even a bad band, but like they make music that is such like it's the most digestible, processable mentally and emotionally for the least like musically inclined fan.
It's scalable rock.
Homogenized to death, and those are the kind of movies they're making for the theaters. You know,
I used to get Guitar Player magazine, and I remember this would have been back in the early 2000s when like Nickelback had just blown up. Okay, and Chad Kroeger, the lead singer and the main songwriter in Nickelback, did an interview with Guitar Player, and it was literally like, "How do you write songs, Chad Kroeger?" And he was like, I basically have it into like an ABC format.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like his approach. Yeah. His approach to, so I don't know how old, 14, 15, but even reading that, I was like, that's bullshit. Like, you shouldn't write songs because you have like a process of writing songs that are catchy. And that's really but look.
That's the music industry. That's what makes.
That's the
money.
music industry.
Yeah.
That's right. And so like, and you know, at the time I was kind of like, well, I'm done. I'm not listening to this crap anymore. But like, or I'm only gonna go to artists who like write songs for the or the right reasons. But God, you know, God bless Chad Kroeger. I mean, like the dude is like, and I don't, you know,
dude, they'll still sell out arenas.
And good for them.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like, and it's not for me. But it's like
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
know. I think that there was a I can't remember if this was a skit or what recently, but like I don't know. I feel like Nickelback is getting like a little bit of more empathy in these recent years than they have been. But back to the movies.
Yeah.
We need more random reasons to go see movies, and I think it was I can't remember if it was Ewan McGregor or if it was the guy that I always confuse with Ewan McGregor, Ethan Hawke. Ethan Hawke. Okay. Ethan Hawke. I don't know why I confuse them. Anyway, Ethan Hawke was offered the role of Will Smith's character in Independence Day.
Wow.
Okay.
He was their first pick, and he read the script and he was like, "This is garbage." The way he tells the story, he was like riding down the highway, reading the script, and threw the script out of the car. He was like, "Ha, no." Like, it's such a fantastic story. So anyway, he thought it was so dumb and so bad. Like, he read the "Welcome to Earth" line and then tossed the script out of the car. And he's like, so fast forward a year and I'm in the theater, like we're going to go see Independence Day. He's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so bad. How embarrassing. Like, this is going to suck. And he was like, the crowd lost it with Welcome to Earth. like cheering, laughing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like Independence Day was not a home run movie, which is crazy to think about now because it was like one of the biggest summer blockbusters of the 90s. I mean, Bill Pullman as the president in a serious role.
Well, the thing is like what the companies and the corporations do is they try to go with the safe bets to guarantee the most money coming back in, and you can't do that with independent film. And so the beauty of all the streaming services is now I can go check out some just whacked out movie that nobody's even heard of that got made and actually see more art. Art doesn't sell like the lowest common denominator entertainment content. We all know that. And so that's why with movie theaters, I feel like they're going to keep making it more and more narrow and more homogenized till they've squeezed every last possible cent out of the theater experience. Then after that, it's going to go away. We only needed theaters when movie theaters came out. They were an extension of a live Broadway play or a stage show, right? When they came into existence, and we didn't have 100-inch TV screens in our house with our own food. We could sit there in our pajamas. They didn't have to blow a bunch of money and hope a bunch of loud teenagers didn't like screw up our experience and stuff. We don't have to deal with that anymore. So how can you possibly
if the movie theaters themselves would just do their job, right, and like have ushers where they used to be. I'm old enough to remember an usher in every theater for the duration of the movie to tell people to shut up or to leave.
That goes back to the shareholders though. There's
100%,
right?
So I mean, the idealized version is possible because like I'm kind of conflicted. There's lots of times where I know which movies I'd rather watch at home, and I know which movies I really want to see in a theater, and I know which movies I really want to see in IMAX if I didn't have to drive 90 minutes to see it.
I'd argue that the movie theater doesn't die if there's more comedies because there's something special about seeing comedies, and that's something that doesn't get greenlit anymore.
It's not the indie films that I'm worried about going away because think about this.
Well, we watch them on streaming, so we're going to be able to get plenty of that anyway.
And I would rather watch that, but see, like as long as A24 and Focus are around, those films are going to get made. They're going to go into theaters. They might not be a ton of screens, but indie movies and good kind of like good quote unquote movies are going to be fine. I'm not worried about those, and I'm not worried about obviously so much. We need, like what John said, we need more of the in between because like think about this: the only genre unaffected by the greenlit kind of like curse is horror. There are so many insane, like we have not stopped jumping the shark on horror ever. Like that has never, the amount of like insane ideas that get sequelized or just kind of like, you know, greenlit on the horror side, they'll greenlight any horror movie. It doesn't matter how, like Smile. What?
Yeah.
Smile 2? We needed 2?
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, if you love
Smile
those movies,
16. Okay, that's what we need.
We need more like John said, more like of the comedies, and like let them be weird, let them be super weird, like Anchorman and
where's
Napoleon
Superbad,
Dynamite.
You know? Yeah, that's
where's the Superbad?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing.
Exactly.
Is I also think that writers and production companies and studios and stuff, they're taking less risks because there's so much potential PR blowback for brands, actors, personal brands, of saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, portraying a person or a thing in the wrong way that offends a swath of people. And now there's a big blow, like the Megalopolis film, which I have not seen yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it because the concept sounds really interesting to me. But every time I've seen movies come out that got terrible reviews and terrible this and terrible that, you go actually watch them. There are some legit terrible movies, but sometimes you go watch these movies and the only reason why they were deemed terrible or the critics hated them is because they didn't appeal to the Nickelback movie audience. Instead, they were
didn't
quirky.
fit the mold of
and a lot of movie reviewers just hate movies.
Like, like why are you even in this business? You're like, I just want to get paid to be an asshole when my writing.
Brody, what I can't remember his first name, Brody at the New Yorker. That dude hates movies. I mean, it's like nothing gets him going. Nothing grinds his gears like a film.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that the theaters that will continue to exist are the ones that go beyond just being a movie theater, which is IMAX.
Yeah.
And I think the world needs more spheres.
Yeah. Why not? Like here's my thing. Yeah. Every screen in the country. This is my presidential platform. Every screen in the country, IMAX. All of them. There's no because a regular movie screen. It's time. It's time. Every screen in IMAX.
Right. Yeah, dude. I agree. And nothing gives you more authority than that mustache. I just wanted to let you know. I mean, seriously.
Oh, this is here to stay.
Yeah. When you said that just now, the mustache, I believed you, and I was way more on board with your entire.
Those
platform.
Words came right under the mustache.
There's talks of Wayne being the president in the next Independence Day. I heard because of the mustache. So speaking of
I'll
movies,
take it. I'm not throwing that script out of the car.
All right. So the last topic for today, and I think because we're getting to the top of the hour here, or the bottom of the hour, I don't know. We're getting to the part of some
bottom
hour.
of something.
Who knows? Yeah.
Rounding the clock.
The bottom.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have to be a long discussion, but so there's been a lot of the music industry has been ailing for a while because of streaming and just the internet in general. And I don't really have a problem with the old version of the music industry ailing, to be honest, because so many artists and so many creatives constantly getting exploited, constantly getting ripped off. They're just desperate to get paid to do their art, and all of these corporate jerks know that. And so they were signing them up for these crazy record contracts, owning them in perpetuity for anything they make. I remember I was in a metal band a long time ago. Metal Blade used to be a big record label for metal bands, and we got signed under them with one of their imprint labels. And when they gave us their initial default contract they give to everybody, we gave it to our lawyer. This thing started out as like a 45-page contract, and once my lawyer was done with it, it was 3 pages. And basically what he said was, if you were to have signed this thing as is, like your entire life's work, anything you haven't even made yet, all the way till you are 6 feet underground, they would get paid for and own outright. And so like nowadays with influencers, and you see all this stuff, there's a lot of non-talent trying to be talented, but there's a lot of incredible music talent out there, and just creative talent. and they're building their own audience. And now you have situations where record labels aren't even wanting to work with you unless you bring your own audience with you, because they know that's where the real money is. That's where the monetization is, so the traditional thing of like getting money off mechanicals and getting points off somebody's record that you co-produced or whatever, those days are like on the way out the door. Now, the times that we've at OWC, we're working with some people in the industry and stuff. The way that they make money now is completely different. Like there's a guy that I'm friends with who was a very well-known engineer for like 15, 20 years at Capitol Records. Capitol Records eventually got to the point where they had to just like let go of all their engineers. These are guys that like engineered multi-Grammy winning albums over a span of multiple decades, and they're just like let go. Now they're just consultants, like working as independent engineers, getting hired directly by artists and directly by artist managers. And like the record label doesn't even like, they're not the ones in charge of distribution. Spotify is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, it's the distribution has been democratized, but it's also been monopolized in a weird way, right? Because like anybody can decide today is the beginning of my career as a musical artist. Just like anybody can decide I'm quitting my job and I'm going full time on my dream to be a YouTuber. Yeah. Right. So like it's trivial. Everyone just about has a phone. You can take a video of yourself. You can upload that video to one of a number of platforms. If you get big enough, I mean, so it's easy to distribute, but it's also harder to get paid.
Yes.
Through that distribution model.
But if you're smart and you have if you have your own intuition about how to hustle your work, John and I are already working with a couple people that do music but are also content creators. They're blowing up on TikTok. Gina, what's her last name?
Gina Fontanella. Yeah.
Fontanella. Yeah. She's amazing. And we talked to her. She's a powerhouse, dude. She has a good grasp on her music, her creative, her brand, how the business works. She's literally editing her own videos. She figured out and learned how to edit videos. So now she's a total creative powerhouse. She's in control of the situation. And that to me is awesome. And, but I just, go ahead, John.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, I think the sort of insinuation is like, do the record labels have a place anymore outside of just making money for the record labels? And I think you sort of answered it there with Gina's example, where no, if you're willing to be an entrepreneur, you have to start your own business effectively, right? You have to, you create the content, you release it. You need a record label, I think, at this point to be a superstar. In terms of, even Billie Eilish made her record in her bedroom with a laptop on her bed with her brother. Incredible. You don't get to the arenas without the support of these
they're holding on
corporations, but
exactly.
I mean, and I think that's. Go ahead, John.
No, that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, like you took the words right out of my mouth. Because there's the democratization of the distribution platform. Honestly, I mean, and again, like there's tons of artists that I listen to, and the first person that I heard kind of like coin this term was Derek Webb, but he like a blue collar musician. So someone completely disinterested in, touring, doing big tours and being a superstar and selling millions and millions of records. They're just like, I'm looking at making, $60, $70, $100,000 a year. I want to be a middle-class musician that, I'm in control of my audience. I'm in control of my distribution. I own my songs. I own my catalog. I can do whatever I want with it. And I'm if you, David Bazan of, those guys who are like, literally like, I'm in my van with my guitar and my amp and I go to this house and I do this show. That is more possible than ever. Like, it's just on you to be the entrepreneurial enough to build your audience and kind of do all the work. But now you can do all the work. It's like, put it perfectly. So like, do you need a record label? No. I think that I don't even think that's the goal anymore, right? The goal of anybody making music these days feels like, to me, like if I was going to get really serious about my music and I was going to like start performing and stuff like that, what would I do first? I would start putting my videos on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's to
Start
get
a Patreon,
followers.
and like
a record contract is almost kind of like that would be nice, but that's not really why I'm doing this. And honestly, that's when the trouble starts, a la Taylor Swift.
That's what I was going to talk about. A blue collar musician is. I was going to run it out all the way to Taylor Swift, who's just getting by every year with. But
the blue collar musician's icon. Taylor
she is.
Swift. I mean,
she is a perfect example of why she basically took all her stuff back from the record label, and you can only do that when you reach meteoric status, like Taylor Swift. Yeah. So
then I think like what's the line from the Batman movies is like you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. I think she's lived long enough to become a villain, because like now nobody is worse about just like, I want to sell 1 billion records, so I'm going to release this album no fewer than 7 times, so that all the people who love my music have to buy the album 7 different times if they're going to get all the secret tracks.
I don't know. She's
Taylor Swift you're talking about there.
Yeah, dude. You might have.
She's listening.
But honestly, she's actually.
Did I go out of? Hold on a second. Wait a second. Did I go out of bounds because I criticized Taylor Swift's capitalistic?
No, she's unabashed with that. Totally. No.
But people are like, is Dua Lipa playing the game? She only put out like 2 versions of her album.
Yeah, but bro, listen. So if you go, they're repackaging the same material is not unique to Taylor Swift.
Oh, no. But within 3 months of release?
Still not unique to her, because like when Korn came out with the record, I think it was Issues. That was the first time that a band came out with the same record, 4 different album covers.
That's right.
No, you're right about that.
So
no, it's not so
all
much
about hitting the collector. Like if you're a super fan, it's like those people. Like if you go to popmarket.com, Popmarket is a huge website for vinyl people, right? I can't even tell you how many times Popmarket's come out with yet again another cool way to repackage Led Zeppelin 1 through 4. Like how many times do I got to buy that?
That record's 50 years old at this point. Like, how many times could you? But there are some people who are really serious. And look, like, I don't begrudge people for collecting. I'm just saying, like you mentioned Blink-182 did the same thing with Take Off Your Pants and Jacket.
Right.
I mean, so like they had like 4 different albums or 3 different albums. The CD was different. The album artwork was the same.
One thing that just came out, and this is not breaking news, but fun. Green Day Dookie just re-released their album. I don't know if you guys saw this. Green Day re-released Dookie in the most inconvenient formats possible. They released it on a Teddy Ruxpin, on a Game Boy, on a toothbrush that plays music. It's worth a look, because it is really one of the most clever re-releases ever.
This is real?
Dead serious, yeah, 100%.
That is incredible. And see, like that, yeah. So what I'm saying is not like, it's not like this is a unique opinion. People are like, literally, there's lots of discussion about how Taylor Swift juices her album sales by like putting out a new version of the album. And look, I don't begrudge the Taylor's version stuff, like, but I could see the argument of kind of like, this started off as kind of like we were all rooting for you to take back, but now it's kind of like now it's precedent for just like, staying on top of the Billboard. Have you become the machine?
Yeah, like
but the thing is, she did that because the record label or the situation she was in, somebody else was collecting almost all the money from the stream track.
Right.
So
I don't blame her for that.
When she re-released those, she told the Swiftie, which is basically enough to be its own country, the Swiftie population, told them, stop listening to this version of the songs moving forward. Now listen to this version of the songs. And
they did it.
They did it, and then just shut down a revenue stream for a bunch of jerks. So
it's scary. Should any one person have all that power?
A monopolist.
I mean,
maybe the DOJ is going to hit her up. You have a monopoly on pop music right now.
I would love to see Taylor Swift reinvest some of those profits from this last Eras tour and a lot of these re-releases into independent artists and people that started out where she was, where you're like, and do it right, where she could reset the precedent. I don't know, just an open-ended suggestion if Taylor Swift is listening,
dude. Yeah, and also, she is. Yeah, if she were to give some of that money to like public schools and their music departments, that would be some amazing stuff, because I can seriously vouch for the fact that having spent all of my high school years in public school music education, everything sucks. We're selling candy bars to try to like go on a field trip to a music event or something, you know what I mean?
I mean, I remember going to like parades and stuff, like local parades, and like there being 150 people in every high school band. And now there's 8.
Yeah, it sucks.
10,
it's pretty bad.
15.
Dude.
It's just
it has
so
to be
sad.
It has to be something that the students can just support on their own and try to figure out how to make money.
Yeah, just go buy your own French horn.
Yeah,
like that's who. And I look, I haven't kept up with the inflationary impact on French horns, but I imagine they're pretty freaking expensive today. Like not cheap.
Yeah.
You don't attend the French Horn Summit every year, like.
You're gonna want to go used for your first French horn.
And you're gonna want to rent that used French horn. Yeah. Like I don't know what would a French horn purchase. Like how much does a French horn cost, Michael? What could it cost? $20?
I think there's a good game show in this. And you, Rich, you can make a reel out of this later. What does a French horn cost? Let's take our predictions. Wayne, don't Google. Hang on.
Damn it! I already did it. They're $3,500.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah. I was going to say $300.
I was going to say $34.99. I was going to price it right.
Brass instruments are
you nailed it.
Yeah, brass, anything orchestral, brass woodwinds and strings. Those things are way more expensive than most traditional instruments, like a guitar or whatever. So
let's do another one. I was going to say clarinet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not look. I was going to do clarinet. I played clarinet and saxophone.
So this is for real fodder in the distant future. What does a clarinet cost today, brand new?
I know mine used in the late '90s was like $300 for a
brand new
one, not a plastic one. Brand new wooden like legit one. I would say has to be at least in the like $2,500, $3,000 range for a legit. I'm sure you could probably get a good wood one for like $1,000.
Yeah, my guess was gonna be 1,800, so I'll go with 1,800. I was surprised I went into a big music retailer, and I used to play guitar and own guitar stuff, and then I was super surprised at the cost of guitar amps. So I think there is there's a mission that we need to take on here to get more money back into the public schools, and Taylor Swift is the one that can lead it. We can bring it all together, but.
I'll take back everything, all of my criticism if Taylor Swift will just support. Just all she has. Listen,
she has done some good things, though. She has done.
But all I want is for her to fully fund public school music education in this country, and I don't think I'm asking for a whole lot.
How many kids are there?
Yeah.
Across America.
Yeah, how many kids are there?
I mean, how many could there be?
People are having kids a lot less now, so. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, hey, I think we're good for this episode. Thanks, John, for joining us. Thanks Wayne,
for having
me. I appreciate your mustache. Thank you for bringing that to the table.
My mustache appreciates you, buddy.
Right. That's a little odd and weird, depending on what soundtrack I put behind it. But yeah. But anyway, so thanks to anybody watching, listening. Feel free to share, comment, hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, carrier pigeon, smoke signal, like whatever you got going on. And
be sure to tune in next week, and we'll tell you exactly how much a brand new clarinet costs in the year 2024.
True.
I mean,
this is
just shout out to John for just giving. I mean, the hook of the century there. Like they're coming back.
It's the things people want to know, That's it. It's the cliffhanger. If you made it this far in the episode, comment clarinet below.
Yeah. Hashtag clarinet vibes.
Now.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll talk to you next time.
Later.
Peace.